needs to be removed, please, or if there's any changes.
Yeah, give me a second. Looks good to me.
Jared?
Looks good to me.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now that we're all here, I'd like to call this meeting to order for Tuesday, May 18, 2021 at 7 p.m. Scott, can you read the agenda, please?
I can, and sorry for being a little late. I would like to motion to add some agenda items. Have we already done that?
We are actually in review of the agenda right now.
Perfect. All right, give me just a moment. Well, actually, I can just read what's on the screen if you're scrolling with me. So this is the work session for Mayor and Council for Tuesday, May 18th, 2021. Items for discussion are as follows. Number 1, call meeting to order. Number 2, review of the agenda. Number 3, building application revision for 3719 Wells Avenue. Number 4, letter of support for weatherization upgrades, MEA-EM Power Grant. Number 5, council rules and procedures. Number 6, committee list and appointments. Number 7, rolling agenda discussion. Number 8, council recess. And number 9, proposal to go into closed session.
Can you read the reason for it, please?
Sure. Could you scroll back down, please, John? Thanks, Selena. According to the annotated Code of Maryland, the mayor and city council of the city of Mount Rainier have the statutory authority to close a session under general provisions, Article 3-305B, for the reason is number 1, to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction. Any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals. The mayor and council will propose to go into closed session on this Tuesday, May 18th, 2021, to discuss city manager search.
And final point is adjournment.
Thank you. I did not see that on the screen, but of course, the final part of the meeting will be adjournment.
Thank you, John, for scrolling back up. Okay, so that was a fair reading of the agenda, and you guys have reviewed it. We're going to go to Ward 1. Luke. Oh, sorry, Luke and Jared already, they're fine with the agenda. Scott, you were mentioning something?
Yes, I have a handful of different agenda items that I'm hoping to add for this evening for 5 minutes of discussion for each one. So give me just a moment to pull that up if you'll bear with me here. I'm having trouble with one of my devices, so I'm trying to do everything from one device. If you could just bear with me, please. Sorry for holding everybody up. Hey, can you guys hear me?
You're cutting off some.
Can you hear me now? Check, check, check. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, sorry about that. I think I froze for a moment. Okay, so there's a couple of agenda items that I'm hoping to add if I can get a second and approval for that. The first is to discuss the community garden budget for fiscal year 2022.
Scott, can you send the list over to the clerk, please? Because it's sounding like it's a lot of them, and usually we have John sends a lot of reminders so we could put the items by Wednesday of last week.
Yeah, so a couple of these, two of these are because I got response from the city attorney after the agenda had been finalized. Would you like me to share the entire list, Mayor, or do you want me to do them one by one?
Go ahead and share the entire list.
Would you like me to read that, or do you want me to send it to the city clerk as you suggested?
You could do both, but go ahead
Okay.
and read them.
I'll send them to him. So here are the agenda items. Number one is community garden budget for fiscal year 2022. I'm hoping for 5 minutes for that. The second one is rental price disclosures. This is a report back to the mayor and council from the city attorney. Number three, indigenous land acknowledgement, sharing draft language with the mayor and council for that. Number four is to have a brief discussion about the charter review committee. Just a reminder, I'm asking for 5 minutes for each of these. Number five, a release of body camera footage from the shooting of Leonard Chan. I want to be able to discuss, I want to get permission to discuss with the city attorney when, how, and if we can release that footage. And number 6 and 7 are appointments to the police advisory board and the ethics committee. And again, I'm hoping for a 5-minute discussion on each of these items, if I can get a second for any of them, especially if the mayor and council is planning to go into recess for the summer. The reason I'm pushing to have these discussions now is so we can at least have them mentioned so that we can potentially move forward on some of them during summer recess before we come back for the fall.
Luke,
So the rental price proposal, what was the, you were breaking up a little bit there. I heard indigenous and I missed the next half of it. What was the indigenous? And then I missed the rest of what you said. I missed after indigenous.
Yeah, sorry. I'm going to turn off my video for a moment to see if that helps a little bit with connectivity. I'm at City Hall, so I'm surprised the connectivity issue is cropping up. The third one is indigenous land acknowledgement. I'd like to share draft language for that.
Okay.
And number 4 was the one right after that is the charter review committee.
Got it. I'm okay with everything except maybe the community garden budget conversation. Because I think where I am with that is, we agreed with the prior mayor and council to just have our vote be on June 1st to set that budget. But it doesn't mean I'm not open to a budget amendment midway through the year if there's a need. But for the rest of them, I'm okay with discussing.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Scott, you have to wait for the floor. Jared?
I'm open. I mean, I'm open to discussion on those items as well. I guess on the budget amendment, I wasn't party to the development of the budget. I am the council had finalized the budget. Mayor and council finalized the budget in the last term. I'm a little concerned about reopening the discussion on it. Especially for myself, first act is amending something. When if we're making amendments, we're not doing them across the board to different items. So that's simply as someone that comes along after all the decisions were made, I'm a little uncomfortable with that, and procedurally not being able to doing that in one specific area and not, I guess, anywhere else.
So that'll be my turn now. I will say no to the budget amendment. The Leonard Shan, I need to have clarity from the lawyer when it comes to how we could discuss it or not, and where we are when it comes to legal. So I'll say let's hold on it until we have it in writing from legal what exactly we could do about it. So that'd be two of the items that I will ask for them not to be added.
Thank you. May I have the floor, please?
Go ahead.
Yeah, to clarify, there's no budget amendment before us. I simply wanted to have a discussion about the budget so that if we decide to do a budget amendment later, we've had that discussion now. Community garden members want to know what their budget's going to look like now, and some of them are on this call. So I'd like to have that that discussion in an open manner so that they know what to anticipate. There's no budget amendment before us. There's nothing written. I understand that we agreed to pass the budget that the prior mayor and council has approved. But one of the things we also discussed was that we were going to go through specific line items, which we never did. So this is me going back to try to go through the line item that we never reviewed as a mayor and council, like the previous mayor said we would, for one of the committees that I liaise with. And then in terms of the camera footage, what I'm requesting here is not to move forward in any way, but I'm asking for permission from the mayor and council to ask the city attorney about this, because I don't like to ask the city attorney to do anything unless I have approval from the mayor and council. So she bills us hourly for.
Yeah, Scott, the last vote that we gave as mayor and council prior to this new council stated we all agree on the different line item changes. And that's where we're at. On June 1st, we're going to be redoing the hearing and the voting for that day. But if we're going to have a budget amendment or hearing on this, will probably be for the September meeting, not for this meeting.
Mayor?
Luke?
Scott, we have the June work session. So if we pass the budget on June 1st, you have the June work session to bring up the anything with the community garden that you didn't get a chance to bring up in the budget discussion. So if you want to do a budget amendment, that June work session is open for that.
That sounds great. Thanks.
Recommendation, yeah. But I'm okay with the having a conversation about giving Scott the permission to go to the city attorney. I don't know how many. I know, Selena, you weren't, but I think if the conversation's just about giving him permission to talk to the city attorney, I'm okay with that conversation being added.
What I want, Luke, and just to make it clear, I want to make sure that the items are being sent to the city clerk, so that way we know specifically what we're discussing, because that went from release of the camera footage to permission to talking to a lawyer, and it might be because the call is cutting off, we couldn't get it. So I need to make sure we have in front of us exactly what we're discussing.
He has them. I sent them when you asked me to. He's got them.
Well, at this point, it sounds like everything except for the budget amendment will be on this agenda. Scott, I definitely would like to ask you to please abide by the rules, because now you double the agenda that we had in front of us.
What have I done that's against the rules?
And Scott, I'm speaking. And you not only do you double the agenda, but whenever we do this, we create extra work for the staff that they are not ready for as well. And most of the discussions, I don't think it's going to be 5 minutes each. So I'm asking not just you, but everybody. I understand maybe one item that we need to, but coming in with a complete list is definitely a lot for us to handle in one night. So for the future, let's please stick to the council rules that we agree on, which means that the previous week, by Thursday, we submit the stuff to John, because now John has to put all this information in here. Thank you, John.
Point of information.
Go ahead, Scott.
What rule did I violate?
The council rules state that we need to be submitting the items from Wednesday prior. Usually we honor if it's one item that needs to be added. Usually we go on it, but for the most part, we don't come in with lists that are like beyond 1 or 2 items.
Thank you for that. But I didn't violate any rules by asking for these to be added. Is that correct, Mayor?
You violated an agreement, yes, for not submitting it prior. Either way, John, can you go ahead and work them into the agenda, please? At the end of the agenda, all these items, except for the garden.
I'm adding them now.
Thank you, John.
Miss Mayor, just so you know, I'm online now. This is Jim Flynn.
Thank you, Jim. You are number 4 on the agenda. So 2 more items. Thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, I'll be quiet.
John, about how much more time do you need?
Give me a few more minutes. I'll have it ready for you.
Thank you,
If you
John.
want to start the first item, that's fine. You can start the building application revision and I'll have it ready.
Well, the agenda has to be approved with the changes if that's what we're doing.
Mayor, if this is helpful, I'm happy to offer a motion to amend the agenda as verbally stated while we're waiting for the city clerk to get it on the screen for us.
Second.
Any objections? Hearing that there's none, I guess we'll move forward. John, if somebody else could do time or anybody else could do time while John is trying to make these changes.
We'll keep the time too. We got it over here. I got Jared. Thank you.
John. Thank you, John. I just want to make sure I don't stretch you too thin. Okay, so next item on the agenda is building application revision for 3719 Wells Avenue. And it's, let me see. Alma, you're here. Can you present it, please?
Sure. So the property presented in front of council in Mayor back in October of last year. And it's on Wells Avenue, as you know. So the owner actually, I think, had some issues with the basement accumulating too much water. So he decided to go back to the county. And instead of, the basement, now he added a second floor to the property. And that's why we have to present it back to mayor and council. And Mr. Pam is in the call as well.
Yes, I'm here, Mayor.
Go ahead. Tell us about the property.
Yeah, so originally it was approved for an addition with 1 level. Like Alma was saying, when we we were trying to build the basement, there was just a lot of water coming in. So we kept the addition, but instead of 1 story, we're gonna go up 2-story for the whole property, for the whole house. So it's basically gonna be a 2-story single-family home.
Okay, thank you. Jared?
Yeah, and also,
I have no comment.
I want to let you know that the 2nd-story revision has been approved by PG County.
Okay, thank you. And was the basement issues resolved?
Oh, so with the new plan, the back addition, the bottom part would just be a crawl space. There'll be no basement.
Okay, thank you. So, Jared, you have the floor.
I have no comment.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I'm so happy to see this property being revitalized. The only question I have is about the driveway. I see in the paperwork it's a 10 by 20. I just want to make sure that you've done your due diligence in terms of the permeable, non-permeable surface that the driveway presumably will be made of.
Okay, so there was an existing driveway now on the property.
Okay.
So we're just probably going to stay within that existing driveway.
Got it. Well, thanks for working on revitalizing this property, and I wish you the best of luck. I have no other comments or questions.
Okay.
Luke?
I have a question for Alma. Was there any need for this to go in front of the design review board at all?
No, because there was no variance request on it. So if something got approved by the county already, it does not need to go in front of them.
Okay. And there was no variance on this. It's the original lot coverage.
Yes.
Okay. And a question for the homeowner. When is construction slated to start?
We got the permit, so once we get the approval from the city of Mount Rainier, then we can start.
Okay. There's just a few things we like folks to keep in mind when they start construction. Number one, we have an urban tree code, an urban forest code. So if you have any trees that are beyond a certain width, please do not cut them down. Or if for some reason you need to cut them down, there is a process and a fee that you must pay with the city. So be very careful when looking at trees. Also, if you have a tree that's beyond a certain circumference, it's also good to put an orange fence around it and try not to dig around it to hurt the roots. Also, make sure that we don't have, and this is something that neighbors are very concerned about, if you're doing a lot of digging, try to make sure that the dirt that's moved, the clay, has a place to sit and doesn't run off into the street when there's storms. Because there's been a drought, so if a big rain comes, there's a chance that a lot of your stuff is going to get washed away. So just be mindful of that. And no construction before 8 a.m. And somebody's going to have to remind me when the shutoff time is, but just make sure. We don't want to get any angry calls from neighbors that you're starting construction at 7:45. You got to wait till 8. And I forget when the sunset time is on this, but just keep that in mind, and Alma can fill you in if you have questions on any of that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Luke. Alma, is there any red flags or anything we need to know aside from the presentation on this property?
No, we reviewed everything and everything seems to be good and standing. There is an impervious fee that he actually paid for, and that's for the addition in the back. So that was covered as well by the owner.
Thank you, Alma, for that. Okay. See, we're in agreement. I guess we'll move it to the next one. Thank you, Alma. Anything else you need from us on this property?
No.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Much appreciated.
Okay, so next item on the agenda is the letter of support for weatherization upgrades on MEA Empowerment Grant, and we have a speaker for that, Jim Flynn. Can you please, Mr. Flynn, can you please let us know what the program is? And the city has participated in this program for years. I believe we were one of the founding cities as well. Go ahead.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and council members. The Maryland Energy Administration grant and the LMI MEA grant started about 3 years after we did the Department of Energy solar system, which is up on the roof of your building, of your municipal plaza now. That was formed in I think it was 2009 is when the municipal, what they call the municipal collaboration was done. Mount Rainier was in fact one of the first 9 involved in the collaboration. Since then, we've done $7 million worth of Maryland Energy Administration low to moderate income grants. Mount Rainier's had about 15 total over the years. That's about 2 a year. We'd like to pick that up to about 4 to 5 a year, but they've had about 2 a year where residents have applied for and have been granted through income qualification access to the grant funding. We've replaced roofs, insulation, air conditioning, heating, you name it, we've done it into homes in Mount Rainier. We continue on with the grant now. I retired in 2018. I left Bladensburg Police Department as a municipal assistant chief and joined a nonprofit. That nonprofit now has been operating. And with that nonprofit, we continue to do exactly the same thing as we did before under the municipal collaboration, other than it's now run from, instead of a government agency, but it's now run from a nonprofit. So we continue to do it. We have $750,000, give or take, in funding for Prince George's County, Calvert, Charles County, and Anne Arundel County. So we expect to do a lot of homes in Prince George's County again this year, probably in the neighborhood of 85 to 90. We have $100,000 in Department of Housing and Community Development funding. That specifically is why the letter of support is needed. In order for a person to qualify, they have to be, number one, in a sustainable community. That means a designated community. Mount Rainier has designated community status in the Department of Housing, Community Development, Community Legacy Program. But we have to have a support letter from Mount Rainier stating that they support the actions of the grant process that we're doing to weatherize homes and whatnot for people low to moderate income in order for them to enjoy the funding. So that's the reason for the need of support. I don't need it, but the Department of Housing and Community Development needs it in order for me to spend the money. So that's the reason why I came to the mayor. It's been like this since 2009. There's nothing changed. The letter of support letter is almost identical. We just changed the name and a little bit of the wording from here to there. But generally, it's the date and the name on it is what we change every year. So if there's any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you so much. Luke?
Yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time out. And just for Scott and Jared, Scott, maybe you've worked with this when we did it in the past, but this is one of the most rewarding things that I've done as a city council person. I've helped a homeowner get a new boiler with this, and that stuff is really, really expensive, and this really helps people and who are concerned about how they're going to heat their home when they have to replace something. So I just appreciate the work that they're doing, and highly recommend you to once we send this letter in and this program starts, to spread the message and help folks that you know of who may need some help around some of this. That's all. Thank you, everybody. I'm in support.
Thank you, Luke. Scott?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. And I'm sorry, for the gentleman who was speaking earlier, what's your name?
My name is Jim Flynn. I'm the retired assistant chief from the Bladensburg Police Department up until 2018. I was a 40-year member of the police department and Secret Service.
Thanks for repeating that. I just wanted to be able to address you. So, Mr. Flint, thank you for being here. I know this was something that Mayor Miles cared very deeply about, and I'm so happy to see our new mayor spearheading this. So, Mayor Benitez, thank you for getting this on our agenda. All I have to say is that I'm also enthusiastically in support, and anything I can do to help get the letter of support together, I'm happy to do. And if all I need to do is sign on to it, then that's what I'll do as well. So, thanks to all.
Jared? Jared? Okay, I cannot hear Jared, so. Okay, so thank you for being here. It looks like we're all in agreement. We'll go ahead and move forward to the next stage of the approval of the letter, and it looks like it's not going to have a problem getting it signed and submitted to you. Okay. Anything else you need from us?
No, ma'am. Miss Mayor, I just want to thank you. Congratulations on your appointment. And I look forward to working with everybody at the town council. I just ask you to share the information and remember one thing. When we talk to people and we tell them that it's free, they don't believe us simply because we tell them it's free. There needs to be a little bit of, when you talk to them, you let them know that in fact it is true, because a lot of people, the minute you hear that it's free, they run away. So that's my only thing. That's the hardest part of this whole thing, is convincing people it is free.
No, and thank you so much for carrying that work. No, thank you so much for carrying that work. And you know, it's been quite a few years. I think that aside from voting and recommending this is definitely something very positive that's being done. And very happy to carry the tradition of being one of the founding cities and continue moving along. So thank you so much for being here tonight as well.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor, and thank you, council. Have a great night.
Good night.
Bye.
Next item, the agenda. That'll be council rules and procedures. Mayor and council will hold a discussion about the council rules and procedures. So I will start with Scott.
Yeah, I don't have much now. I just wanted to ask Mayor and council members. Oh, Mayor, by the way, just real quickly, I don't know if you saw the chat, but on the previous item, I just wanted to say it verbally for the record. Jared said that he agreed and had no comments on the last thing. I'm not sure why he's not able to connect to audio. I don't have much to add here other than what I shared with folks via email earlier in the week, which is we discussed last week a procedure for keeping time, which was to grant each council member 3 minutes on any given topic, followed by a second round of 2 minutes, followed by a third round of 1 minute. And when you do the math, that's 30 minutes. So unless we're planning to have 30 minutes for every agenda item, and or if we don't, I guess it's a non-issue if we don't think that we'll need more than one round of speaking. But I think that we should take a second look at that, because I'm not sure if that's going to work, especially if we all take all 3 rounds of speaking. But I just wanted to ask Mayor and council members if we could keep this as a future agenda item, either in June and or when we come back in September, so that we have more time, and also for the new council member, just more time to digest these rules and think about any potential changes they might want to make. I have no amendments at this time, other than to ask that we sort of rethink what we discussed.
Luke.
Yeah, I would say I appreciate that fine from Scott. I think when we did this with Brian and when I ran a couple meetings, we didn't run into that problem because people didn't take up the whole time and we didn't have to go to second round. So it was sort of a hypothetical problem. But I would be, and I think, and Scott, I sent you an email on this, and my first thought was like, oh, well, we could just have a motion to go into the second round and the third round. But then I thought more about that and I was like, well, that could get bad, because then people would motion to, like, what if one person wants to talk and you'd motion to shut down that person and they would take offense to that. So I think that was opening up a can of worms that we probably don't want to do to keep collegiality. So but I'd be open to like a discussion around maybe the first round is like, I don't know, 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And then the next round is like 1:30. And then last you get like 30 seconds or something like that. I'd be open to a discussion like that. I'm not sure how much time I'm taking right now talking. So I'm wondering if 3 minutes is the appropriate one, but like, you know, maybe John would have a good perspective actually. And John, if you do not want to get involved in this, you do not have to, but, be interesting to see what maybe an outside observer would say about us and whether we can shut ourselves up sooner rather than later. So, yeah, I don't know. My thoughts.
Jarrett,
Sorry, can you all hear me now?
we could hear you now.
Okay, sorry about that. I had a problem with WebEx, so I had to exit it really quick and restarted. I am, again, as newest member of the council, and certainly I've read the procedures in depth right here, but as Luke mentions, as they play out, I'm not yet party to how they actually play out, in terms of time. So I would certainly be in favor of more discussion, and to be frank for myself, just so I can have a better understanding of how the typical flow is and how this change would affect it, also in the ability for us to move quickly, and also for members of the public that are here to hear on certain items and not being able to get to the items in a quick and a meaningful manner, and not bringing items late into the evening when folks need to be up here before the council. So thanks.
Yeah, so I will tell you guys something. We're actually practicing today and we're moving through the agenda quickly. I think it's also psychological enough to feel like you have more time if you need it. More than anything, more than hearing time every 5 seconds. And then what we end up doing is like, we continue to increase the time, like a 5-minute discussion becomes a 20-minute discussion. But so far we've been moving through the agenda, following the same exact rule, because it's already in play. I don't know if you guys realize that. So I'm fine with keeping it as is, and that would also allow for you to be able to cut yourself off. So you don't need to take the 3 minutes. You could take 30 seconds and move on. So the other thing I will add, based on tonight's agenda, I will be asking to request that we do not come in adding 6 items into the agenda. If we go add 2, maybe. But that said, I don't want to do this again, because it definitely throws, like, the rest of us are not prepared to discuss those 6 items or any amount of items that are coming through. So if we could limit them for the future, it definitely will be more helpful for the staff and also for us. Okay, anybody else on this topic, or you guys want to move to the next one since you guys want to put in a different meeting? Luke?
Yeah, I think we're going to have a longer discussion on this at the June work session. I think Scott's idea of having somebody else on hand to help with us is good. I also think one thing we're going to have to look at is potentially, I don't know. We have to have a conversation about when we're going to go back into City Hall for meetings face to face as well. And I don't know if we want to have that conversation as a part of this conversation about the rules, and just throwing that out there is something we need to consider at some point in time. So, but I'm good at waiting till the June work session to have a bigger conversation.
Okay, thank you. Jarrett?
I'm good. Thank you.
Scott?
I guess the only thing I have, Mayor, is a question. Are you proposing adding a rule that limits the number of agenda items that can be motioned to be added at the beginning of a meeting?
I said suggested, yes, and I am asking to reduce the amount for last minute additions per person, yes.
Yeah, definitely happy to have that discussion. We've been on the council together for 2 years, so you know that it's not common for me to motion to add agenda items. And it's probably true that I motioned to add more agenda items tonight than I have in the last 2 years. But part of that was because I don't know that we'll have the opportunity to discuss any of those items before summer recess. If we go into summer recess, which I'll be voting against, by the way. So that's why this happened. And these things didn't come up for me until, again, after the agenda was already completed by the city clerk. So I don't know how long you want to punish me for adding agenda items, but I don't think that I broke any rules. If you want to change the rules, we totally can. And I'd be happy to abide by those.
I need to get some understanding on this. I thought we were all motioning to move this agenda item to June or to a later day. Are you changing your vote on this? Because right now it sounds like three of us are saying move it to June.
Yeah, no, that was actually my initial suggestion. I'm not suggesting to change that unless you want to have a discussion about changing the rules for adding agenda items, which you brought up.
Like I said, I'm considered to add the rule on the next meeting. So I'm giving you guys basically let you guys know that that's what I plan on doing. And this is nothing personal. I think I made it general for any of us. That includes myself. So seeing that this item is going to be moving to a different agenda, it sounds like June. Can you make a note of it, John, please?
Will do.
Thank you so much, John. So that moves us on to item number 6, committee lists and appointments. Jared? Would it be easier for us to read them or you guys, at this point, either you guys call what is it that you guys want to do, or we just need to submit into to John, because I have not seen any changes from the last meeting.
I think I would support having a discussion, and yeah, I'd like to hear what Jared has to say coming on new.
Okay, Jared, go ahead.
If I'm looking at the list of committees, obviously the ones that are open due to the departure of Mayor Miles and Councilmember Nedler, I'm drawn to the committees that I've have functional, like professional experience in, such as liaisoning with the bike co-op, or serving as liaison for MUTC. I think I served on the MUTC from 2011 to 2014. Working with city staff, Councilmember Brent Bowling, MNCPPC staff, and members of the MUTC. I would like to suggest, if folks agree, that it would make sense for me to be on that. I think I'm actually probably the one council member, although being newest, that's actually served on that committee before. And then functionally, as you know, I'm in transportation. I'm an urban planner by trade, and that falls generally squarely in my area. Aside from that, other things that certainly of interest, given background on having spent a career as well in public procurement. Things around public interest, ethics, and stuff are of interest to me as well, and I would be interested in serving as that liaison there too. So, but apologies, I've been talking for quite a bit, and would pass on to other folks for their thoughts.
Thank you, Jared. Scott?
I didn't think you talked for too long at all. That was probably less than a minute, maybe a minute and a half. I think, Jared, thanks for everything that you said. I know I'm supposed to be talking about myself, but I would probably, so I have my own working list here. And I think one thing that we might consider adding to what you just said, if you do get all those liaison positions, is adding ATHA to that list, the Anacostia Trails and Heritage Association, or whatever it stands for, which I know is something Mayor Miles used to do. It's not an official city committee, but it is something that she used to liaise with that maybe you could pick up with, because I think it kind of dovetails with bike co-op and a couple of the other ones. And I don't think I'm stepping on any toes with that. So personally, I'm interested in continuing with community garden. I know that Luke wants to keep green team, but I'm interested in that as well. So maybe I could be a backup for him. If we're going to have a council liaison to the police advisory and review board, I'm very interested in that as well. I'm also quite interested in MRBA. There's going to be an opening for CERT, which I'm not entirely interested in, but just noting that it's going to be open with Brian's departure. I'm also quite interested in the Tree Commission and have started looking into the process of becoming certified as a roadside tree authority, or I'm forgetting the exact term of that, but I'm trying to go through that training with the state of Maryland. So I'm very interested in the Tree Committee. But I'm really open to shifting things around if folks want to move things around. But the ones I'm prioritizing for myself, if they're available to me, would be the Tree Commission, the Community Garden, and MRBA.
Luke?
Yeah, I think both what Scott and Jarrett said makes sense. So if I'm looking at it, Gateway CDC is still me. ATHA, let me see how many I got. 1. Luke 1. ATHA will just put on the side. That could be Jarrett, but I don't want to overwhelm Jarrett. PGCMA, that'll be, I assume that'll be Selena now as mayor.
Correct.
Okay. MRBA, that could be Scott. Scott's got 1. Selena's got 1. Tool Shed. I'm going to put your name there, Scott, just because nobody else mentioned it. Board of Elections doesn't have a liaison. That makes sense. CERT is empty, so CERT and ATHA I'll put on the side.
Board of Elections is a staff liaison. So what's missing in this document is also a staff liaisons to each of these committees. Okay, well, let's hold on that for a second. MUTC, Jarrett. So Jarrett's got 1 with the MUTC. Ethics Commission. Ethics Commission actually doesn't have a liaison, which makes sense, right? It's a staff liaison as well.
It's a staff liaison, okay.
Yeah.
And then Luke Green Team, so that's 2 for Luke. Tree Commission, Scott did that, so that's, now Scott's at 3. Recreation Committee, Selena. Selena's at 2.
Mm-hmm.
Bike Co-op. Jarrett, did you mention Bike Co-op, or did I make that up in my head?
Oh, I did mention it.
Okay, so Jarrett's got 2 now. Community Gardens, Scott, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Parking Task Force. I don't know that that's ever done anything. I'm going to just put that to the side. Census Committee, that's to the side. Youth Scholarship Committee, that's Selena, so she's got 3. Arts Commission, that's me, so I now have 3. And Charter Review Committee, that's out there. And so I think that's it. So Scott's got 4, Jarrett's got 2 with MUTC and Bike. Selena's got 3. We could give Jarrett ATHA. That would give Jarrett 3.
Luke, also Arts Commission for you.
Guys,
I think I have that.
Try to take one at a turn. The other one we're missing is Design Review Board. They don't have a liaison right now.
Oh yeah,
because
DRB.
that was heavily Brian.
Yeah. So I think I got Arts Commission. That's my 3, right? Gateway. No, you're right. That's 4. That's Arts Commission. Thanks, Scott. So that's Gateway, Green Team, Arts Commission. No, I think I just have 3.
Mayor, could I have the floor for a quick comment, please?
Hold on 1 second. Are you wrapping up, Luke?
Yeah, my recommendation would be Jarrett could take ATHA. That would give him 3. And then we would just have to figure out DRB, Charter Committee, Parking, and CERT. And then we could do that at the June work session when we have another council member.
Yeah, do remember that we also have another council member that's going to be joining us, so we don't have to like get all the committees all at once right now. We could have a couple of them and leave the other person with some as well.
Okay.
Because this is definitely time intense, and the other committee I'm part is the outreach committee for MML. That's not here, but I'm also part of that committee.
Now, may I have the floor, Mayor?
Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, I had a similar comment to you, which is we're going to have a fifth council member, and I don't want to just stick that person, whether we know who they are already or not, with just whatever our leftovers are. So we should be open to having this discussion again at the June work session. In addition, this is not a city committee, but I think we should add Sustainable Maryland to the list, or maybe that goes along with Green Team, just because this year we will have to do our Sustainable Maryland recertification again. And so again, maybe that's a Green Team thing, but I think we can add that to the list. Yeah.
That's Green Team takes the lead on that, and they do all that work.
Yeah. So hold on, Scott, are you done with the floor?
Yes. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. I will ask you guys if we're going to review this in June for us to at least show up to this meeting so that we have some representation. We report back. I've been showing up to the business association for right now because they've invited me, so I'm going to be attending a couple of them. For PGCMA, I'm fine. The rec committee, I'm fine with it. So I would say even if I don't think they meet until next week. So let's figure out what top 3 you guys want to pick for right now, and then we'll reset them in June because they do meet during the summer. So yeah. Jared, do you have anything to add aside from the committees you mentioned?
Yeah, no, I think agreement with MUTC by co-op. I'm happy to take ATHA. I was going to say, worked really well with Aaron Markovich. Unfortunately, I don't know if you all know, he left recently, and ATHA has a new head. So I'd be excited to engage and liaise with that person and build up that relationship as well. So if just have an ask, could and I apologize because I know we've gone on this. I'm trying to keep my list here. Can you give a reminder of what committees are outstanding and who's on what again?
Luke, do you have this list?
Yes, I do, Mayor. So Luke's got Gateway CDC.
He wants the leftovers, Luke, not
just the leftovers. The leftovers are the Design Review Board, Charter Commission, Parking Task Force, which I don't think that's even a real thing. So I don't think you need to worry about that. The CERT, the Emergency Response Team, ATHA's hanging out there. And I think that's the only ones that no one has asked for.
Okay. So are we on agreement to review this back in the June work session, or do you guys want to carry through right now what we have? And then, because some of them, it's been a minor change. I know Jerry picked up quite a few of them that need representation anyways. So let's work with this list for right now, if you guys will feel comfortable. And then once we get the new person added, then we could reset this as well. But that will carry us at least to cover the ones for this month coming into next. Yay, Nate, how are you guys feeling? Scott?
Yeah, thanks for coming to me. Just a quick thing, Luke, I want to make sure that you add the Police Advisory and Review Board to the non-filled. But yes, Mayor, what you just described, I think will work perfectly for us. I do want to also say, I should have said earlier, I am very, very interested in the Charter Review Committee and would happily give up one of my other committee assignments in exchange for that once we get our fifth council member. So I just wanted to make that known as well.
Okay, Luke and Jerry, if you have something to say, let me know. If not, we'll skip to the next point in the agenda. Are you good?
Good.
Jared?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, internet connection so wonky. Yeah, no, I agree. I like the idea of, thank you, Scott, for adding the police advisory. That's a committee that's a really important addition to the city. and community engagement on that point. So I appreciate that. I agree with the notion of putting, having a further discussion on this really when we have a fifth council member in place. I think you all know I'm legislative policy procedure wonk due to my lifetime of gov service and policy work. And I'd certainly be interested as well. Scott, I don't know if there's a way to kind of co-chair or work together in a charter review committee, but certainly be excited and interested in supporting that work in whatever.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
You could be co-chairs or alternatives because we all have been in these committees and it gets really overwhelming sometimes. So you guys could co-chair. It's not a problem. We all agree. So I'm going to move on from this item, seeing that we're going to review it in June. And I think we're already beat this dead horse already. So I would like us to move on to the rolling agenda discussion, unless you guys want to review it in June, seeing that we're missing one council member. I'll go through the room. You guys decide what you guys want to do right now. Let's start with Jared.
I would actually, again, as a new council member, I would defer to someone else going first on this.
Okay, that's fine. We'll go Luke to perhaps Scott go first. Go ahead, Luke.
Yeah, I think it's this is a helpful exercise to go through everything that's on here. There are things that we're going to have to add, especially the COVID funding. And, what I'm going to talk about when we talk about recess is propose that we meet in August to talk about our priorities for the year. I think that's also a very helpful exercise, if we can limit ourselves to just 2 to 3 priorities and then all bring them to the table, see what we got. So I think it's, yeah. I think it's a helpful exercise to go through this. So I would support going through this.
Now or June?
Right now.
Okay, Scott?
Mayor, thank you so much for asking it the way that you did, because I hear what you're saying. So I think Luke's right. It makes sense. It's worth the time to go through it now, but we also know that we're going to have to go through it again in June. So I'm going to offer a potential temporary proposal. In lieu of going through it tonight, we could say anything that was assigned to Mayor Miles automatically goes to Mayor Benitez. And then anything that was assigned to Brian, the city clerk, or maybe we could do it right now. We just go through and assign those to Luke, Jarrett, and Scott, and then just do that for the next month. And then when we come back for the June work session, we do the more comprehensive review, would be my suggested path forward. But if I'm outvoted, I'm happy to go through it now because I think it's worth the time.
It sounds like you guys just want to go through it. So we could go through it to get rid of some of the stuff, awesome stuff, and we could prioritize what needs to be done the next month until we get the next person. So we could always put right here in front of us, we have the Civic Center funding. That's nothing we're going to solve in the next month. So we could put a pause on that for right now. But let's just go through the list and figure out what we're going to get out, who's going to handle it for the next month, if any, or we could just pause it for June. Because quite a few of these things is not going to make a difference in the next month. Okay, Jerry, I'm coming back to you.
Hoping to draw from the experience of my more seasoned colleagues. The number one is obviously this full-time city manager search. That's, I don't think there's any disagreement there. Sorry, apologize for clarification. Are we asking for is the question here? I'm sorry?
Do you want to go through it tonight or do you want to wait for June? We could go through it tonight if it makes life easier, and then let's just go through it tonight.
I think having an
understanding
succinct but complete, especially again, and I apologize as the new kid here.
That's fine.
But,
We'll go through it tonight so that
we
we
can go through and have a
Go ahead,
succinct,
sorry.
sorry, no, I apologize. I'll see what I can do about my internet next time. Succinct but complete discussion on these items, I think certainly would be helpful, productive, I think.
Okay, let's go through it tonight so that we could get acquainted to this so that when we're reviewing in June, you have a better idea of it. Would that be? Okay, let's just go through them. John, can you put it in the screen, please? All right, number one, priority number one, full-time city manager. That's ongoing, and that's all of us. I'm sure there's no disagreement we're keeping. Are we through it? And I guess raise your hand or something. Civic Center funding, that's under Mayor Miles. We could keep it, but I don't see nothing's going to be done the next month. Agree? Agree.
Jared's got his hand raised. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking about this because of the because of my day job, and there's a congressional earmarking exercise going on through a number of the committees on the House side. Senate's thinking of picking it up, but if there's an opportunity to, you guys probably know that the municipal lot on 34th Street was actually a Congressmember Van Hollen earmark in 2007. If there's an opportunity for us to quickly submit that to Congressman Brown or either of our senators, if that comes up, is that something we would be able to? Well, and I guess is that something we would have to submit because it's something we need funded, correct? And that we need to seek funding for.
Scott, Luke?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I personally would feel more comfortable, maybe Mayor Benitez, if we just assigned this to you, if you're comfortable with that, even though nothing may happen between now and the next meeting. I understand from staff, and Mayor, you've been on top of it, that the building permits are going to expire at the end of June without moving forward on the project. So it seems like you're already on top of it. So I would feel more comfortable assigning it to you to just make sure that if any moving pieces do need to happen, that those balls don't get dropped between now and mid-June. That's my suggestion.
Okay, go ahead, Luke.
Okay, so the permits are expiring in mid-June.
Mm-hmm.
How are we going to do anything in the next 3 weeks to not have those expire? Like, what is... this is a more immediate conversation. So do we know what we're supposed to do here in order to not let those permits expire?
That's definitely a longer conversation. Do we want to?
Well, I think we need to have that conversation now because mid-June is like 3 weeks away.
Yeah.
And clarification, it's end of June.
Hold on, wait.
Okay.
So one of you guys has to have the floor, and I'm not going to give it to both of you guys. So I don't have a problem putting my name under, and I'll ask Jared to join me in this, right? And right now, this week, what we're doing is like finding out what is considered having work permits and what we need to do to keep them. And if it means we're also looking into how much money we have left over from the grants, from the bond bills that we received, to see if any money could be utilized for that. So I'm putting a little task force together to get through this and figure out what potentially it is. Do you want me to give you an answer this second? I don't have it because we just found out about it like a few days ago, and we're trying to basically put together what it means having the permits expire at the end of June.
Okay. That's helpful. And I would totally support Jarrett asking a congressperson for some cash money. I think that you could, but I think what needs to happen is, that task force needs to happen and think of a way forward sooner rather than later.
That's happening tomorrow. We're meeting, so I cannot get you any closer than
Okay.
And I think, do remember, I just took this job like literally a week ago.
Right.
So we've been doing a lot of stuff on it and catching up on things that we needed to know. The money for next year, Luke, will be for next year if they put any money aside, not for the end of this fiscal year to be used this fiscal year. I just want to make sure that's clear.
And I would recommend reaching out to Melinda and Brian to see where they left it, because I don't think we got a briefer on where they left things. So
Correct.
we'll probably need that.
Yep. So
Okay.
add my name to it, John, and you could put Jared right beneath as my we could partner on this. That's okay with you, Jared?
Oh, yes. Sorry, I didn't realize you were giving me the floor. Yes, absolutely. Happy to support. And I've been tracking this for, my day job, and I'm happy to make sure that if we have an opportunity and they've come and gone really quickly, that we're able to get the resources we need.
Perfect. Scott,
I
do you
made the
need
change.
anything else to add? Sorry, Jared, it cut off and I thought you were done. My apologies. Are you done, Jared?
I'm good. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Scott?
No, I'm just glad to hear that this is the path forward. I'm a little concerned that it was suggested to not do anything with it in light of what's happening. But yeah, this is the right path forward. Thank you.
Okay, so next will be exception for tax rate for smaller apartment buildings. I'm scratching this off the list. I can't even see you guys. I'm hoping you guys are shaking your heads.
Mayor,
Go ahead, Jared.
Oh, and I just, again, and I apologize, this might happen just because I'm coming in to discuss what you all have had. Can you just give me the background on this?
Yeah, originally we have in the city of Rainier 5 different tax brackets. We were trying to implement a 6th one. When I reached out to the Maryland taxation, they said a 6th one cannot happen unless the county and the state create one. And at that point, we have very little, we could have an opinion, but it might not be what we were thinking of. And that's going to take years in the making, longer than this full term that we currently have. And also they were very adamant that for the next 2 years, they don't even see it anywhere close, but it'll need a whole entire county and state overhaul for this tax bracket to create it. And it will not just apply to Mount Rainier. It opens up to other one. But based on my discussion with them, originally what we needed it for, it might go beyond what the scope is and not necessarily what we need it for. So we might be shooting ourselves in the foot instead. And that will be a fair summary of it.
Thank you for that thorough clarity on that point, and 100% concur with that action. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, perfect. Luke, Scott?
I'll only say I'm still interested in this, despite the potential very clear barriers. I still think it should be worked on. You can go ahead and scratch it from the list if you would like to. I have thousands of hours of experience with lobbying state and local governments, and I'm going to continue working on this issue no matter what. So however you guys want to proceed is fine.
Luke?
Yeah, I don't see a way forward for now, but Scott, go get him.
Jared?
Yeah, and I apologize. I didn't mean to sound like the issue and the reason to develop that wasn't of interest or isn't important, Scott. I apologize if I didn't, it wasn't thorough there, but actually concur on that with what Luke said. I think just because there is a structural reason not to do something doesn't mean we can't change it in the future. And really would appreciate your experience and energy on this topic, because I think it is important to have additional flexibility. And a lot of times, we just have restrictions just because that's the way things are set up. Doesn't have to be that way. So thank you.
Yeah, and just to be clear, it's not just creating it, it's the fact that we were trying to do it for smaller apartment buildings, and it was more like a single more than corporate, and that will take a whole overhaul to do. But if you want to do that on your part of your work, Scott. Enjoy it. Let me see. Sorry, guys, this is very small. Okay, library, 3409 Rhode Island Avenue, opening in phase 2. I'm still gonna be working on this because the library right now is currently a mirror is being painted, but it still hasn't opened. So we still need to make sure that takes place. If not, it will stay closed. But we are moving a lot, bigger when it comes to the phases of COVID. So I'll leave that, and I'll go ahead and keep my name, and you could delete Latasha's name out of it, John. Okay, city event calendars. Oh, that's ongoing. You could leave the name there. Mayor and council master calendar, still work in progress. The chart review, Scott and Jared, you both wanted to take up upon that. Am I correct, Scott?
Yes, ma'am.
Jared? Okay, Luke?
Yes.
Okay. Next item. WMATA Plaza purchase. Yeah, you could put my name next to that one. I'll be submitting some information to you guys coming up this week. Keep going, John.
Sorry, Selena, I just had. Sorry,
Go
I didn't
ahead.
if you saw my hand. Happy to support you on that. I've again worked a lot with WMATA. When I was on the METC, we actually had a discussion with the WMATA staff in terms of bus turnaround, and I have a very very old email from WMATA planning staff on alternatives. Don't know if you guys have ever seen it, and happy to work with you on that from the transit.
Perfect. And I'll still be submitting paperwork to all of you guys because
Yep.
we're gonna have to go into a meeting to make some decisions. All
That
right.
is time on this agenda item. 15 minutes has expired. Thank you.
Motion. Anybody could make a motion to add more time to this agenda item?
I motion that we add 5 minutes to the agenda item.
Second.
5 minutes.
Sec-
2 seconds.
I second. Sorry.
All right. Any discussion? Any objections? Here now, we're adding 5 more minutes. Okay. CDMA fee collection and 10% administrative fee.
Did we?
Whatever it is.
Did we?
Go ahead, Luke.
We took care of this, right? This is done.
It's every year we do this.
But I think the issue was whether we received it and why the city should be collecting in the first place. I think we should put this one on hold, kind of on the back burner for now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that we need to put anyone on it. I would almost write back burner.
I'll put our finance director on it so that way she could follow through with it. If you guys are raising your hand, my screen I have it so extended right now to see this agenda. So I'm just going to call you guys. Scott? We're good. Jared? If I don't hear nothing, I'll assume you guys are saying you're good.
I'm good. Yep.
Okay. Homestead tax credit cap adjustment. Luke?
Yeah, we need to do this. I am okay to take this on.
Okay. Jared and Scott? Jared followed by Scott.
No comment.
Scott?
Yeah, I don't want to volunteer Luke for extra work, but there are other tax credits as well, some of which also have deadlines, and I want to make sure that we as mayor and council are staying on top of those. So I don't know if it makes sense to add those to this or assign them separately, but for example, there's like the veterans tax credit, there is the low income tax credit, etc. So yeah.
So the long-time homeowner tax credit, that has my name on it. I know we worked on it, mainly Brian. So we did reduce the age, if you guys remember, from 40 to 35. So I'll keep my name on it, but that's already been covered unless we want to like change to something else. We could leave it there in case we want to change it in the future. We know the deadlines. Okay.
Can
Ammon,
I have the
Scott?
Yeah, I didn't mention the yeah, thank you, Mayor. I didn't mention the long-time homeowners tax credit. I mentioned the veterans tax credit and the low-income tax credit, which are two different ones.
I was just reading the agenda, Scott, but the long-time homeowner tax credit, that's also the veterans tax credit. It falls under, it's both. So long time, you have to be able to meet 35 years living in the city and certain age requirement, or you have to be a veteran. That's the one for the long-time homeowners tax credit. The other one you're mentioning, it's the home credit. That's what it's called. The home credit. So I will have to look in. We got it to the agenda, but we have to look into do we set the parameters for that, or is that state tax credit and they set the parameters for that?
I have a recommendation, Selena.
Go ahead, Luke.
I think the long-term homeowners and veterans, they are two separate tax credits, but they are tied together for the years and how much the state allows you to reduce the years, but just clarity there. So you and Scott are both right. But Scott, if you want to work on another tax credit on homestead, happy to do that and make sure we don't miss any deadlines there and getting a proposal in front of the mayor and council and getting the state buy-in before the deadline, which I think is not too far after the new year. So it'd be good for us to get something before the mayor and council at like the November work session would be a good.
So are we planning on changing it anymore? If we're planning to change it, leave it there. But I'll tell you this, it's the same exact application for both because I've been helping people fill that application. You just have two requirements that could meet it. That's where the confusion is lying. But usually when you make a change to that, it affects both. Okay, so if you guys want to make any changes, leave it as this for right now. Scott, are you taking upon this or do you just want to leave it there? And
for the homestead tax credit cap adjustment, put Luke and Scott as names there. And we'll figure it out.
You guys could take it on. I was doing it, but I'm fine with you guys taking it too.
You're doing the long-time homeowners tax credit, everything you talked about.
Can I have the floor, please?
Yep, sorry.
Go ahead. I said just add it to the agenda and put you guys' name. That's fine. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, so the one that I'm referring to is the low income tax credit, which is not related to either of the ones that are on our screen. And yes, I'm happy to take that on.
Can you please add it, John? Including finding out if the city does anything with it or is it a state tax? All right.
That's time.
MNCPP. Yeah,
That's time.
Let's be realistic. Just make it 20 minutes, guys. Can I have a motion for 20 minutes on this agenda item?
I don't think we need 20 minutes. I'll motion for, there's a lot more. I'll motion for 15 more minutes.
Okay, go ahead. There's a motion on the floor for 15 minutes.
Seconded.
Any objections?
I vote no.
So are you done? So you're done with this, Scott?
I think we should wait till the June meeting to finish going through this list, in my opinion.
So I'm gonna vote yes because we agree on like giving it at least help Jared get a head start on this. Okay, so 15 minutes have been approved. All right, next one is MNCPPCCI requests. So add my name to that list. I know I attended a couple of meetings with Mayor Miles, so. All right, next one is our space structural concerns.
I would like to take that if no one else wants it.
I'll add my name to that as well. Okay, John, can you scroll down? Rent stabilization. Both of our names are there, Scott. Chair floor.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Luke, Jared, we're good?
Yep.
Okay,
We're good.
thank you. Safe route to schools. My name is there. Can you put my name and Liz's name on it, please?
And Mayor, this is Jared. Just happy to
Go ahead, Jared.
support. Worked with SRTS grants before. Happy to provide any support you might need. If you
Perfect. Add Jared's name as well to the list. 2 shed move to a better location.
This
Luke?
is Scott. Oh,
Hold on, wait. I'm trying to rotate you guys as much as I can to have you guys start at different times. Luke,
No comment.
Jared,
no comment.
Scott,
I see that it has community garden members listed there. So if it makes sense for me to take this because it's community garden related, potentially, I'm happy to do so.
okay. Bike co-op,
Jarrett.
It looks
Jared?
looks like I volunteered myself for that earlier, so I got it.
okay, so Jared, I'll be your backup if you need me, okay?
Perfect.
All right, police department, lower level, upgrade for code compliance, you and demo. It has Kamali and Latasha. We could definitely put Kamali and Chief on it. Any objections? Hearing none. Youth Scholarship Committee, that's mine. Keep going. Arundel Levy Project and Bridge. I'll add myself to that. Anybody else wants to join, let me know. Arundel Road Green Streets. Luke, it has your name. How are we feeling?
I'm good with that. The green team keeps an eye on it, and it's far away until the levy's done.
All right, it has Mayor Miles on it. I could be your backup if need be, but if not, I'm fine. Cable Theater. Scott?
I'm 100% behind trying to make something happen, and anybody who wants to join is more than welcome. Come on in, the water is warm.
Luke?
I prefer my water cool, like a June dip in Lake Michigan. It's just kind of late in the mood. Yeah, I want to be on that too as well. So we can work on that together.
Yeah, you guys can work on the city side, work on the county side. Sorry, guys. Anyways, let me see. Found amount for treasurer and city manager. Was that ever resolved? It was a yes, correct?
Selena, it's really hard to hear you. Sorry.
I said on amount for treasurer and city manager. I believe that was resolved. I'll check into it. So put my name on it. I'll check if it was done already. Okay. I'll have an answer for you for June. Annexation. For sure, Mr. Hopkins. I can see you guys. So I'm going to go around. Jared?
Since I was on METC, I've always been interested in this issue. I don't know that I'm probably the right person to be the lead on it because I've been, out of the loop and you all been plugged in on this, but happy to support on it.
Okay, Luke?
I'm good with Jarrett taking the lead on it.
No.
Scott?
Not what I said.
Yeah, it's so funny. I was going to be like, I think Jarrett should do this because he's got all this intergovernmental experience. I think this is something we all care about. So, Mayor, I would suggest we put Mayor and Council and future City Manager and Director Hopkins on this. I think it's going to be an all-on-board type thing.
Agree. So, all right, Design Review Board amendments. Oh, God. I think that was resolved. Codify the pattern book should be consultant. Yeah, I think that we actually have a pattern book, and Jerry, you actually got your copy the other day, right?
Yep.
So let's move on from that one, unless one of you guys has something to add. All right. Seeing that there's none, the other one is amending untaxed cars and illegal parking on lawns ordinance. Tweak enforcement mechanism. That was Brian. I wonder if we ever finished. I don't think he brought any of those to us. All right, I'll look into it to see if it was done or where we're at with that. I'm not taking on it. I'm just won't be able to research for you guys.
Mayor?
Volunteer appreciate. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, I'm so sorry to interrupt the flow because we're getting through this quick. I actually think he did bring that before us, and I think we voted on it, but I could be misremembering.
Okay, so I'm gonna check. Like I said, I'm not taking out. I'm just gonna look at what we have. I'll check it out with John, and then I'll report back to you guys if it was taking care of it or not.
Yeah.
Okay. Volunteer appreciation. Definitely, my name is there, and we'll figure out what we can do. Okay. Revised council rules and procedures. Keep going, John. John, can you move the screen up? All right. Review of personal handbook.
I sent my edits and concerns to Latasha, and there was a recommendation that Latasha work to get that done. That was back in the fall. I doubt she ever got to this, so this will be something for Randy. So you can put my name there, and I'll dig up the email chain and I'll forward it to Randy.
Okay. Perfect. We'll put a pin on that as well. Okay. Active shooter training for churches and other groups. It has Chief Morgan obviously changed it to Chief Alston. Sim has the training as well, Lieutenant Sim. We could leave it as that and change it from, we're in spring 2021. We might have to change it to another one. And maybe even include our mayor and council because we do have a new group now that we have not everybody has taken this together. We've taken it separately. If I'm correct, right, Scott?
I think so, yes.
All right, let's move. Next one is food truck hub. The mayor had this on it. I could take on it for right now, and then we only have a month left for this fiscal year. Perry Street traffic calming review. Jarrett?
Can I make a recommendation, Mayor?
Luke?
The food truck hub and the Perry Street traffic calming review, I'd take off. I think that I just think that those have been overcome by events. I think it's, in some respects, we have to start shortening this list.
I will say leave the food hub because there are some interest from neighbors I need to meet with. So that's the only reason why I'm having it there for right now. And I'd have to talk to Mr. Hopkins, needs to be in that list as well for that item.
I would substitute Perry Street traffic calming review with traffic calming review for the city as a whole.
Thank you, Luke.
And I can take that on.
Okay, thank you. And you want Chief Alston with you? Luke?
Yeah, or Kamali.
Okay, they could put both of them there. Scott, I haven't heard from you.
Nothing to add, thanks.
Okay, Mankini Landscape Parking / Memorial Park. That's you, Luke, right?
Yep, they're doing the engineering. They just did some surveying last week, 2 weeks ago, so that's on track.
Is it still get agreement in MOU with Mankini or Landscape? You might have to fix what the box looks like right now.
Yeah. You can just put in engineering phase.
Okay. Spring Park.
May I have the floor, please?
Scott?
If he's willing to, I would like to request that Jarrett and I partner up on both Spring Park and Rogers Park, since they're both in Ward 2, and it'll give us a chance to work together, but also combine our efforts in terms of coordinating with residents who live nearby.
Okay.
Right.
Jared?
Yeah. No disagreement on the ward issue. Maybe I could ask Scott, can you just provide me some contextual background on both Spring and Rogers before I sign or before I agree to what you signed me up?
Luke?
Sure.
So on Rogers Park, Scott, we had planned to meet. I don't think you met. I don't think you ended up being there for our meeting that we had with community members in Rogers Park, and we have a just kind of like we came up with like a brief project plan for what to do there. So that was Green Team members, Tree Commission members. Brian was there with me, and so a little bit of that has gotten started. So I'd like to continue being involved in that, but I'm happy if you guys to be on since that's in Ward 2. But there's been some movement there already, and there's just a project plan that needs to be implemented with folks. So, but happy to work with you guys and hand that off as much as possible for you to do that work with community residents there in Ward 2.
Okay. Homeowners flood insurance. I'll reach out to the mayor and figure out where we're at with that and what we need to do.
Point of clarification.
Scott?
Or I'd like to offer a point of clarification. Thank you, Mayor. Jared, I'll follow up with you one-on-one to actually answer your questions about what the projects are.
Thank you, Scott.
Okay. Building inspections cost to city. You guys are fully quiet. Jared, Luke, Scott. Okay,
I'll
let's
take
put a pin on it. We could come back on June if nobody's putting on it.
What's this?
Who's this?
Well, I think Scott said something. This is Luke, but I was going to say, wasn't this related to the artist lofts? And then I think Scott had raised his voice.
Scott?
Yeah, I had the same question. And yeah, I'm going to be quiet, Mayor, because you asked us to request the floor if we want to speak, which is correct. I think maybe this is a mayor and council thing or something we need to, or I guess you, Mayor, as the sort of quasi-city manager needs to touch base with the city attorney on, would be my suggestion.
Oh, sorry. Call a bus replacement. I'll leave it in the list and I'll find out where we're at with that. Store water management plan. Luke?
Yeah, I am still working with Kamali on that. I'm good with that.
Okay, Jared? Scott?
Sounds good.
If it's nothing, just say nothing and we pass. The other would be 2020 census. Put 2030 census instead, because I'm still having meetings for the 2020 census until like the end of September. So put 2020 and 2030 census on it for right now, and I'll continue working on that. Rebranding of the city. My name is there. It's gonna stay there, and little cat. Hopkins as well should be added to the list as econ.
Mayor, can I ask a question?
Jared? Hold on. Jared?
Nothing.
Luke and Scott.
Nothing.
Scott?
I just have a question for you, Mayor. For the census, do you know when we'll have full census data? Is that in September?
They're trying to, September's going to be the one where they're also going to be providing the redistricting. So I've been having meetings with the state and the county, but they haven't pinpointed an exact date, but that's what they're aiming at this point.
Okay.
So that's why I'm still involved in this.
Yeah, thank you for that. I'm asking because I want to know when we can anticipate having on our agenda, looking at our ward map and figuring out if we need to change it or not based on our census data. So it sounds like maybe that'll happen at the end of 2021.
Maybe even in by the end of fiscal year. It depends what data they give us, because they might just give us redistricting data for like the bigger like positions, right? And then we'll have to figure out, but they're still working on that. And with the 22 elections coming, I think they're trying to rush those maps to them as soon as possible. So that's not going to take quite a bit of their time right now.
That is time.
All right. How much we have left, John?
You have almost 2 pages left.
All right. So you guys decide, motion to increase time, or what is the pleasure of council?
This is Scott.
Scott?
I vote that we move on and that we table this until the June work session.
Luke? Jared? So there is a motion on the floor. If there's no second, the motion will die. If you guys want to make another motion, let me know as well.
Hold on. I'm just going to read the rest of what's on here to see if it's any importance.
Go ahead, Luke. But to be clear, there is a motion on the floor, Luke. So anytime you take on this, it's adding to the time.
Mayor, this is Scott. I'm happy to withdraw the motion if folks want to read through the list. That's fine.
Thank you, Scott. The motion has been withdrawn. But time is running, guys. So you have to, if we are going to add time, this will be the time to say.
I make a motion to add 15 minutes.
All right, 15 minutes. There's a motion to add 15 minutes to this line item.
Second.
Second, any objections?
Nay.
One objection. I'm gonna vote yes. Might as well finish whatever we can tonight. So motion carries. 15 more minutes, and we are currently in election day, a city holiday. Scott?
Happy to keep that. It's not something that we'll have to deal with for some months to come.
Okay. Women's Memorial at Buchanan and Chillum. I'll put my name to that one, and I'll talk to Mayor Miles to see where that was last left. Okay, Arundel 34th traffic light replacement. Let me start with Scott.
I have no comments. I thought that this was resolved or close to being resolved.
Okay, Luke. Jared. I'm hearing nothing, so moving on. I'll find out from Mayor Miles where we're at with that as well. Okay, so Shaw refurbish of Rhode Island Avenue medium. Okay, Scott, your name is next to it.
I have to be honest, I don't remember this. So we can keep my name there and I'll follow up with Kamali if that's okay with you guys.
Hearing Luke and Jared.
Good with that.
All right, we'll move on to the next one. Vacant lot registration exceptions. That's revising the definition. And it says to include large vacant lots in commercial districts. Luke?
Man, I don't know if Brian got to this one. I would appreciate if this could be one where you check with John if we dealt with this. I don't remember.
Okay, I could do that.
Yeah.
Jared? Scott?
I'm good.
Okay. Here none. Urban farm plot on Rhode Island Avenue. This has already been resolved. We wrote a beautiful letter and it exists. Correct? Luke, Jared, Scott?
You got it. We can scratch it off.
Okay, perfect. That's a big win for all of us. Okay, Senior Health Center on Brainwood. I will reach out to Mayor Miles to see where those conversations are at. If any. Okay, can we, oh, that's a question. Wow, we got fancy all of a sudden. Can we regulate hours the business operate? That's Latasha and Elisa. Was that ever addressed? We'll do Scott, Jared, Luke.
This is Scott.
Yep.
I believe the city attorney got back to us on this and that it's been resolved, but I would encourage you to follow up. And if you want me to do it, I'm happy to do that.
I'm just going to add like a whole email with all these questions. So I'll add it to my plate. Okay. Jared, Luke.
Good with that?
All right. Bunker Hill Volunteer Fire Department. I will have to ask the mayor about that. Well, the former mayor. I know I'm gonna ask myself, right? Okay. Keep scrolling down. Allison Street Levy mural project. Okay, we're gonna have Luke, Scott, Jared.
This is Luke. I can ask Melinda about that and connect with the Arts Commission if there's anything to do.
That makes sense. Scott, Jared.
Arts Commission sounds good.
Jared.
No concerns.
All right. Utilizing the services of Hachi Barbie for creating a strategic development financial plan for the city. Yeah, I would say let's put a pin on this one and come back to it. All in agreement?
Yeah, Selena,
Yes.
I would change that one to just strategic planning and put my name next to it. That would be my recommendation.
Any objection? Scott, Jared? Hearing none? Okay. The change.
Selena, your volume's really low again.
I'm so sorry, guys. Okay, can you hear me now? Hello?
It's in and out.
Oh, wow. Okay, can you hear me now?
No. Or barely.
Really? Hold on.
There it is. It just got louder.
Yeah.
Got louder for sudden. I think my poor phone is getting killed here. Okay. Rental license fees. Scott? Jared?
I think you can scratch this off. We had talked about adjusting the rental license fee, and we can still do that at any point. If anybody wants to take point, I'm happy to, but I think we can probably scratch this off and bring it up later.
Okay, perfect. Sidewalk implementation plan. Definitely Elisa and Hopkins and Mayor and Council, because we need to figure out what we need to do. So that's an email you guys are receiving this week as well. Okay. Indigenous Peoples Day event. I'll leave my name on it. Because of COVID, we couldn't have nothing. Okay. Economic Development Incentive Funds with regards to COVID-19. We could change that to American Relief Fund. Are you guys in agreement? Jared, Luke, Scott?
Yes.
Jared, Luke, Scott. All agreement? Okay.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I agree.
So if I call your name, just go in that order. Just make it a little bit easier. Okay. Native Plant Network, Luke?
That's done. You can cross it off.
What? You're not creating a network anymore? I thought it was ongoing.
Well, it is ongoing, but it's you don't need to put it there.
Okay.
It's an implementation phase, so I think you can take it off of here.
Perfect. Gone. Bike Master Plan? Chiswick, your name is on it?
Yeah, I'd like to keep this one. It's also related to traffic calming, I think. So
Okay.
I'll get a presentation ready for the mayor and council on this in the fall or next year.
Next fiscal year. Okay, food insecurity. Jared, I think I heard you.
Oh, no, on the last item, sorry, just happy to support you, Luke, on this, given my focus on that too.
Okay. We can
Given
put
that
your
you
name.
created it. Okay, food insecurity. I have you look on it. I'm just gonna add my name to it. Scott,
Yeah, this is something several of us have worked on. I don't need to be the point person for it, but any work we're going to do moving forward, I'm more than happy to support.
Luke, Jared,
Nothing to add.
thank you. Painting a galvanized chain link fence on I didn't even realize when we have a name on address number on it on Shepherd Street. Can we remove this or just send it to code? I think it should be here.
I think we can remove that.
Okay, Scott, good. Jared, good.
Yeah.
Okay, June 15, paving flood at 3409 Newton Street. Can we remove that? Objections? Hearing none, I'm moving on. God, it's not the end of the agenda. Okay, so for moving forward for June, I'll report back to the things that I need. By then, ideally, we'll have the new
Selena, if your mic, I don't know if you can change anything or if you're plugged into a mic, but it's still really bad.
I am so sorry. I think it's because people are just. They keep calling me.
Whatever you just did, just don't.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, don't change anything.
Whatever you
Yeah.
just did works.
I'm getting blasted with emails and calls, so it's a lot of work. Okay, so moving forward for the rolling agenda, we should be having a new council member coming up in June. So you guys got a fair summary of what things are. If you need anything, reach out to whoever's there as appointed or any of us, and then we'll figure out what they're going to be joining on as well. Because looking at it, we're taking on a lot. Maybe we definitely, I agree with the whole prioritizing for the next meeting. And yeah, it's a lot to cover for all of us. All right, moving on to the next item in the agenda. Let me see. What number item are we, John? I think it was the recess.
We're at number 8. We're now moving forward with Scott's items, and then we're going to talk about the recess towards the end, and then the closed session.
Okay. All right, rental. You moved it. Sorry. Okay, rental price disclosure.
Sorry.
Report back from city attorney.
Yes, thank you so much. And I think that we will have a chance to get through all of these in less than 5 minutes. This is a report back. Earlier in the year, I got permission from the mayor and council to check with the city attorney about the legality of requiring disclosure of rental prices when applying for a rental license. And it turns out that we can do that. And this is basically will allow us to do an analysis of how much rent costs in Mount Rainier. The way the amendment is written, which is written by, it's a change to the city code that is being proposed. The city attorney wrote it, and it would require disclosure of how much is being charged for rent when applying for a rental license, and or if the property is not occupied, how much the rent is being listed as. And the first year that this would take effect would also require disclosure of the last 3 years of rents for a given property so that we can do an analysis of not only how much rents cost now, but how much they've changed over time over the course of the last 3 years. And this will give us the information we need to hopefully move forward with rent stabilization. I just got this from the city manager on Monday morning. You all have it now. So all I'm asking for is for you to read it and at a future meeting, us to be able to talk about it and potentially move forward with changing the code.
You say you got it from the city manager Monday morning. What city manager are you talking about?
Sorry if I misspoke. I meant to say city attorney if I didn't.
Okay. Jared?
Again, I appreciate the intent of this. And I just, item that was added to the agenda that I would not have had time to do my due diligence on. But I appreciate the report out, Scott. I don't have any comments at this time. And especially for me, the, being able to see items before they're put on is immensely helpful because I'm not coming in with the institutional knowledge that other council members are. So I certainly appreciate the intent of this item, and look forward to reviewing it and providing feedback on it at the next meeting. Thanks.
Luke?
No, appreciate this, Scott. Recommendation, see if you can get a meeting with Alma and see from an implementation standpoint, the capacity of staff, what would be needed from them to collect it, and then the capacity of like how that would get collected and how it would be put into a form that we could analyze it. Like you'd want to probably put it into an Excel document somehow. So when we get it from them, who's doing that work of putting it into the Excel document and just see what capacity issues staff may have there. And I think that's the only missing piece for this, because I think otherwise it's a wonderful idea and really pleased that you're working on this. So I just think between now and the June work session, when we can talk about it again, I would try to sit down with Alma and figure out that capacity piece for implementation. I think that would be really useful.
Okay. Anything else to add to this item?
Yeah, this is Scott.
Go ahead, Scott.
Just to say thanks for the feedback. I'll definitely do that. And yeah, just the ask right now is just for folks to read it. And it may not even be on the June meeting. It may not come up again till the fall, but looking forward to moving this forward when the time comes. Thank you.
In item number 9, Indigenous-like acknowledgement.
Yeah, this is really simple. I just wanted to get permission to work on this before moving forward. A land acknowledgement is a formal statement that recognizes and respects Indigenous peoples as the traditional stewards of a given geographical area. So my proposal is that we do a land acknowledgement during our legislative meetings, either directly preceding or directly after the Pledge of Allegiance. This would just be simply reading something that's as simple as follows, which would say something to the effect of, we acknowledge that Mount Rainier, the city of Mount Rainier, is founded on land that belongs to the traditional peoples of the Piscataway nation, and that's pretty much it. So I just wanted to let folks know that this is something I'm interested in, and if there are no objections, I'd like to draft some language so that I can propose to have it added to our legislative meetings moving forward beginning in the fall. That's it.
Luke?
Totally in support of this, Scott. Thank you for taking it on. Just really appreciate it and totally supportive.
Jared?
Yeah, incredibly supportive of this as well. We cannot right the past wrongs and past injustices inflicted on inflicted upon Indigenous people in the U.S., specifically those that were, that once made this area their home, but at the very least to rise to create visibility and acknowledge that injustice is very worthy. So thank you.
Do you have an idea in what work session you're going to be putting this on?
I don't see any reason why it can't be ready to be put it on the June meeting. And Selena, I know you care about these. I mean, we all care about these issues. Selena, if you want to work together on drafting language, I'm happy to work with you on it too. And I think we can get it on the June meeting if you would like to.
For the June work session?
June work session, correct. Thank you.
Okay, so do me a favor, Scott, just out of procedure for all the items, let us know what work session you want them so that way like John who add to them, okay? Because I know you tried to rush them the agenda and I don't want you to feel like you cannot work in a project and present it, and I think your concern is that we're gonna turn it down when you show it in. I know it's hard because it's a give and take when it comes to, what it is, and we all gone through it. But okay, seeing that there's nothing else on this item, can we move on to item number 10? Scott?
Yeah, this is something that, and I know that we're not the only ones, but this is something Mayor Miles and I were talking about for the last 2 years that I've been on council. And what I don't want to see happen is for the next 2 years of my term to go by without us moving forward. So the reason I asked this to be placed here is to just find out who else among the four of us, and potentially our fifth person later, wants to work on this so that we can just formulate the commission or the committee. I think it should actually say Charter Review Commission. Sorry about that. I just want to make sure that we're making plans on how to execute this over the summer so that when we come back in the fall, we potentially have it ready to go. We have language and we're ready to appoint people so we can get the ball rolling. That's all I have. So any discussion now would be great. Otherwise, I'll just keep adding this to future agendas so that we can get it done.
Jared?
I mean, no disagreement on that and the importance of the Charter Review Commission and carrying it forward. Just to, I want to make sure, again, I want to be very involved in this. Scott, as I mentioned earlier, I also want to make sure I understand and move with, complete understanding. So I would just ask, this is something I care very much about. I've done procedural code, legislative overhauls of organizations before. I just want to make sure I understand. I have a full and complete background before I make any important decisions. But agree, just want to re-signal my interest in this, and then also, suggest, we'll need to revisit this when the fifth council person is on council. Thank you.
Thank you, Jared. Luke?
Yeah, my recommendation here would be reach out to MML. They probably have a model Charter Review Commission, and see what they think, or if they have several models, or what they'd recommend, and share that with us. I'm walking a little blind here. I've never done this before. I took courses on social contract theory. That was one of my big parts of what I studied. So I'm very familiar with the importance and think it is like a really, really important thing that people should do and keep updated. And part of the problem in our country is that we haven't updated our Constitution in a really long time. So this is important. But it would be helpful to me if we could get, and I don't mean to assign work, but I just a recommendation to get that from MML. And then, yeah, the things that I'm thinking of off the top of my head is you'd want you probably want each council member to appoint people. You'd want the mayor to appoint people to the committee. You'd want it to be evenly spread across wards, I guess. And then I'm sure MML just has a bunch of recommendations that's just off the top of my head that I'm thinking of, that we could borrow to do. So that's just, my word vomit of all my thoughts in my head.
Thank you, Luke. Yeah, I think start working on what the process is to selecting the commissioners, what the purpose of them are. And Jared, if you're in the rolling agenda under this one, that's definitely something you're working on. Just want to make sure. I don't want you to feel like you're being left out of it. Okay. Anything else to add, Scott?
Thank you, Mayor. Just that I would say I don't plan on doing anything for this in preparation for the June work session. So as long as nobody objects to it, I think after we come back from MML would be a good time for Jarrett and I to touch base, because maybe we can have some of those conversations with MML staff in person at the conference, and then come back this fall with some ideas on how to move forward. Because Luke, and I'm taking up time, sorry here, but Luke, some of the things that you just you said word vomit. You did better than that. Some of the things you just touched on, though, I think are some of the questions. Like, do we need people from the different city committees on this? Do we need, ward representation, et cetera, et cetera? There's lots of questions to answer, and I think we can start answering those over the summer. So that's what I'll try to do. And yeah, Jarrett, I really look forward to working with you on this, because I know you have a lot of expertise that will lend itself to making this happen. So thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda, Police Advisory Board appointments, amendments.
Yeah, thank you. So this is not really a me thing. I'll be honest with you, the only reason I put this and the next agenda item on here is because I knew that I was going to ask for the other agenda items to be added. And I was like, you know what, let's just put it on here. So I'm sorry for going ham with, 6 agenda items, which is not very kosher, but it's worth the discussion now, in my opinion, and yours too, since you seconded it. So if folks don't know, and also for Jared's knowledge, you might already be aware, the mayor and council did pass legislation forming this new body in the city, but it doesn't exist yet. So I just wanted to have a conversation now, if it's in order, to just talk about when we plan on advertising to the community that this exists, and what the process will be and the timeline will be for appointing people to it. But at the very least, I think we need to get the word out now, so anyone who's interested in doing it can get us, their resume, letter of intent, whatever else they want to submit. Because if we don't start working on this now, then we might find ourselves in September and still have an empty body. So I think the ask is, can we move forward with getting the word out that this exists so that we can get people to apply for it?
Okay. Luke, Jarrett?
I would say I want a whatever the word is that we get out for people to serve on it, I want to make sure it tracks what the board's authority is, to make sure that people have a clear understanding of what their responsibility would be on the board. And I know you referenced taking lead on this, Scott, or being the liaison, which I support. So maybe it would be like just a brief project plan. Like if we do announcements, if first we have to think of what we're going to say to the public, like what's the communication that's going to go to the public, and that will take, that'll take a couple weeks for somebody to draft it, make sure the mayor and council are okay, and then send that out. Then you give however much time we want to give to the public to respond. Part of it's also like a sequencing thing. Like, are there steps that we need to take before doing the call out to the public that we should think about? And I don't know what that would be. Just be mindful of that. If there are steps we need to take, whether it's better understanding the legislation we passed and understanding whether there are any amendments that need to be made to it. So just think about that. But I think just like we could come to the June work session with like, going to develop a message here, this time lane, this time frame, then we're going to get the message out to the community. The community will have 30, 60 days, whatever we want to say, to respond with recommended appointments, and then, get it up and running. So almost like just a very bare bones project plan, I think would be helpful. That's my recommendation. Thanks.
Jarrett?
Nothing to add, I think, on this. Thank you.
Yeah. I think, Scott, my frustration sometimes is when items are added last minute, and I've been guilty of it as well, is that we might be talking about it, but because we haven't actually know the item was going to be in the agenda, we haven't had at least like, the last 4 days to like review it, research it in order to give you a more concrete answer or figure out where we are with that. And that's why I feel like we're having a conversation, but I feel like it's not as in depth as it could be, and allows for now to be in a bunch of other meetings. And that necessarily means it's a head start for it. I feel that especially with quite a few of the committees and commissions that we have right here, the charter, the police, the ethics, and I'm sorry if I missed another one, is that I feel we are definitely in the bare bones. So before we put a message out telling people we want people to sign up to this, we need to get a grasp of what it is, one. And two, yeah, definitely 100% letting the community know what exactly means, what are the limitations, what is required for them. So that way they also get a sense, because I will hate for people to sign up and then have the problem that we sometimes have, that one of us is giving one information at times and somebody else is giving another information. And then you have people like applying to what they think they heard one of us say, but not necessarily. So that definitely will take not just the communication team, it will take the legislation. It will also take our city attorney, because things are evolving, as we come to what it means. So I will stay at that. So I think we're definitely, I feel we're definitely not in the point to be like, and on June, let's call on members to sign up. So I definitely want to make sure there's representation from both wards, so that way they feel heard. And then that's even stuff that we need to put together and inform. So I usually believe that I'd rather go slow and firm than sometimes go so fast and then we have to, put a pause and trying to fix the, what we're working on. But that'll be my take on it. Okay.
Yes.
I guess Scott?
Yeah, I appreciate your take on it. Just a friendly reminder that we have been working on this for a year. So if any of us doesn't understand what it is other than Jarrett, that's not a matter of it being added to the agenda last minute. Mayor Miles first proposed this to us in June of 2020, and we spent many months and a number of different meetings making amendments to it. So we know what's in the legislation. And I didn't address the amendments piece very well or really at all. So my apologies for that. The other reason I asked for this to be put on here now is because the Law Enforcement Officers' Bill of Rights in the state of Maryland has been repealed. And so what we could do is now different. So another piece that maybe needs to happen here now rather than later is to have our city attorney look at this and determine if there are any amendments that we can make to it, because we now have a little bit more space to move, not only because of the Leobor repeal, but because of the criminal justice reform package passed by our state legislature and indeed championed by most of the delegation from Prince George's County. So we may even have to make amendments to this in the coming months, because we can do more than we could have done before Leobor was repealed. So it actually is timely for us to be talking about this now. And the reason I waited to add it to the agenda is because I didn't have a full understanding of what the implications of the Leobor repeal were. I have a better understanding of that now, because it happens to be one of the things I do for a living, because I was involved with getting it repealed in the state legislature this year. So this actually is timely. Again, I apologize for adding it to the agenda later, but I was within my rights to do so, and I appreciate you giving me the time to do it.
Luke or Jarrett?
Nothing to add more than I said before.
Jarrett?
Time.
Sorry, did someone say something?
John, was it you?
City clerk
Yes, I
calls.
said that's time for this agenda item.
Motion to add a minute for Jarrett to respond.
Second.
Yeah. Wasn't sure if I could second my minute.
Okay. Let me see, where are we at? Establishing disclosure personal relations between community members
Selena,
and
there was a
business making
motion.
bids
Scott.
with the city.
Selena, Scott made a motion and I seconded the motion to give Jarrett one more minute to talk.
Go ahead.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah, no, I appreciate again that item being brought. Scott. That's very helpful. I just respectfully submit that on items where we agenda ahead of time, I was able to read and go through them, and that's why I wanted to go over the items we had earlier on the work plan because I'd read through them, and I want to make sure that I'm sufficiently prepared to have a discussion on the items that you're bringing because I feel the items that you're bringing have value and are worth worth my examination, understanding, and would ask simply that if you can, whenever possible, bring them ahead of time so I can spend the time that they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Jared. Moving on to the next item, establishing discussion of personal relations between committee members and business making bids with the city.
Yeah, Mayor, you skipped number 12, Ethics Committee appointments.
I thought you said they were combined. Go ahead, Ethics Committee appointments / reform.
Yeah, no problem. I'm sorry for confusing you by what I said, because I did muddy the waters. I was just saying that the reason I added these were for similar reasons. So just so the public or anybody watching knows, a couple members of our ethics committee have resigned. And I personally have been contacted by at least one person who's interested in joining the committee. So I just wanted to find out if we can move forward with getting the word out that there are openings on the ethics committee so that, again, in case we are going to go into summer recess, that we can hopefully appoint folks to fill those positions before that recess happens. So if I understand correctly, we have 2 openings. However, the city code, I'm sorry, Mayor, I think that you might be losing our audio. I was still going.
I'm sorry, Scott, you're cutting off on my end.
Yeah, that's okay. It's no problem. I don't think it's us. I think the WebEx is a little bit messed up tonight. But I did just want to say, if I'm correct that two people have resigned, that means there are still 3 people on the commission, which when you read the city code, it says there needs to be a minimum of 3 people. So technically, we don't even have to appoint anyone if we don't want to, which is also why I asked to add it to the agenda to just find out what folks think our path forward is. I personally do think we should have 5 people rather than 3, but I'd love to hear what anyone else thinks.
We'll have Luke Jarrett.
Yeah, I would say I think it's always good to have committees staffed up well, more than just the bare minimum. So always would consider appointments to the committee. So I'm open to discussions there. I know that I've got to pay attention to the Arts Commission because I think those terms might be coming up soon. So this just rang a bell in my head that I've got to do that work for the committees I'm liaison to. So apologies if I missed another ask in there.
Okay, Jared?
Agree that this is an important committee. Not that other committees are not important. I would, if we're at the minimum required now, obviously we should have a full committee. I would prefer that if we're going to make a solicitation for committee members, that we be able to do so across all the open seats on all the committees at the same time. And the reason for that, in my opinion, is that folks, many of our citizens and residents and others and folks in the city have skill sets that may span one or more committee. And I want to make sure we, when we're replacing, bringing on new committee members, appointing new committee members, we've given on everyone the opportunity to see, hey, here's what's open. If you want to devote some time, here's the options in front of you, rather than, someone was really excited to step up and serve, gets on the committee, and then next month we open ability to go on to another committee they might have even been a better fit for. Because I know folks' time on the citizen residents' time are limited, and I want to make sure everyone's on the best fit for themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Jared. I think we actually received 1 or 2 recommendations already. When it comes to this, we're definitely going to have to sit down and have communication send a clear message out of when do we decide to open and close and what we're requiring for the committee members, so that we're all on the same page. But I'm definitely open to asking for a couple more ethics committee members.
I have a follow-up question, please.
Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, so I'm surprised to hear that we've had people express interest. Could you share those with us? And should I also share the one that has been expressed to me with the rest of mayor and council?
It got shared with all of us. That's the only reason why I saw it. I couldn't tell you the name of the person at this moment, but it got shared with all of us.
This is
Okay, great.
Luke, Jarrett.
I think it was Scott. Who was it? Marek, I think, sent us that recommendation, if you remember. He said he was stepping down and then had a recommendation for somebody.
Great. Yeah, thank you for that refresher. I will also share the one that's been sent to me, which is a different person, so that you guys can see it. So I guess, Mayor, I don't know if it's in order at this time. Are we going to, I hear what Jarrett's saying, but are we going to move forward with?
So Scott, can you give me 1 second? Because after Luke, I had Jarrett give the floor. And if he declines it, then you can have it. I just want to make sure I'm
That's
giving
5
everybody
minutes on this topic.
Okay. What do you guys choose to do with this topic? Time has lapsed already.
Motion for one.
Sorry, go ahead, Scott.
Motion for 1 minute.
Second.
Okay, so 1 minute on the clock. Jarrett, the floor is yours.
No additional comments on this. Just want to reaffirm what I said earlier. Thank you.
Thank you, Jarrett. Scott?
So my question is, are we going to move forward with asking people to apply for these positions? And the second question is, would you like me to share with you? Well, I'm just going to share with you the person who's expressed interest to me. So the only question I have is, are we going to advertise this or not? I vote yes.
So I think it's not a matter. This is not a voting session. It's a work session. So we need to set up the parameters when it comes to the time and not if we decide to do that. And we are already we're already out of time. So unless you guys want to add 5 more minutes or 1 more minute, but we're already out of time.
Can I move for 3 minutes to be added? And then I have a question.
Second.
Thank you. 3 minutes, second by Scott. Any objection? Hearing none. Luke, the floor is yours.
Okay. What do we need? When's the next time the Ethics Commission has to perform anything? Is that next summer when we submit our next year's disclosures? Is that the next time they have work to do?
No, we need to submit a disclosure this year. So me, you, and Jarrett are already in compliance. And it'll be the new council members, Scott need to submit them already.
Okay.
So John needs to talk about when that is, but it's coming out if it's not this week, it might be very soon.
Okay. So there's still work for them to do. So then, yeah, put out an advertisement. I don't see, we can just direct staff to that. I don't know. We need to take a vote on that, right? We can just direct Aaron to put out an advertisement for members of the Ethics Commission.
May I make an adjustment to what you're saying, Luke? I would like for us to select a date. If we could, we could always let staff choose the day and send it out, but I'd rather have a clear date so that way there is no confusion in what is required of them. And this goes back to us being ready for the meeting, because that way John could give us an overview of what is required, what days we want to cover, and how the advertising will go about to create a plan.
Maybe we should just talk about it. Sorry. Can I have the floor?
Okay. Go ahead, Luke. It was yours.
Maybe we should just talk about it at the June work session then.
Okay, Jarrett?
I'm in favor of if there's not a immediate need. It's an important need to staff it up, but I prefer that I have that pushed out. Thank you.
Scott?
Well, it doesn't matter what I say here because at best it's going to be 2-2. So I'm okay with pushing it to the June work session. I think it's a mistake to wait, but I'm happy to wait if for another month if that's what is the will of the rest of the council.
Okay, moving on to establishing disclosure of personal relationships between committee members and business making bids with the city.
Yeah, this was mine. I actually did not mean to put this on here. It was a copy paste error, but I will be bringing this up at a future meeting.
Okay, so is it safe to say we should remove it, Scott?
Unless anybody else wants to discuss it now, that's perfectly fine with me. Thank you for asking.
Okay. Okay, item number 14, and just to remind you guys, like we do have council member rules that say we try to stick to 2 hours and 30 minutes for meetings. So we're coming down very close. Item number 13 now will be council recess, mayor and city council. We'll discuss going into recess in July and August. So Jared, Scott, Luke.
Can I defer my time to the end of Scott and Luke opining first? Thank you.
That's fine, Jared. Scott, Luke.
Yes, I do not believe we should go into recess. I don't think that we need to necessarily have 2 meetings in each of July and August, but with the knowledge that the American Relief Fund is going to be coming down the pike, and we have some outstanding questions on that, some of which are being answered, some of which aren't at this point. I guess I don't need to be that long-winded. I do not think we should go into recess. I think that we have enough work to constitute staying out of recess for the entire summer. And my suggestion would be that we simply scrap the legislative meetings for July and August, but hold 1 work session in each of those 2 months so that we can keep things moving with a variety of different projects, including the ARP.
Luke.
Thank you for this. I support the recess for July and August for several reasons. First is the relief to staff that it provides. This is a lot of work for staff. I'm sure John has built up lots and lots of time that he needs to take after this election. And I want to give staff the time and space to do that. Our biggest number 1 priority right now is bringing on that new city manager, and they're going to start here in June and July. And I'd like them to start and ease into council meetings. I don't think it will. So that's sort of the second reason. The third reason is this time is very important to me personally, because it gives me the time and space to prepare the work that I'm going to do for the year. And this year that includes work on the Relief Act, the proposals that I want to see. It gives me time to bake that out without having to hurry something half-baked in front of the mayor and council. So I love having that time. I think that that time makes sure when I give presentations on issues in front of the mayor and council in the past, they're pretty well baked out and they either get passed in legislation or put into the budget. And so these 2 months are really key to that. For me, I think we'll be good with the Relief Act. I think I'll probably try to have a proposal together for the September work session. I think the funds are coming in December is what I heard. So I think we have some time there. And I think this summer will be also important for learning the details. I know they've come out with some guidance now, but I think Treasury is working on some additional guidance because they came out with the potential for money on health and safety issues, and Treasury is going to issue some additional guidance there on what that could be. So, anyways, for all those reasons, I think it's important to take that recess. It doesn't mean we won't meet. I think, Scott, we probably will be meeting. We definitely will be meeting on the city manager recruitment. Hopefully that's somebody's coming in to work here in shortly after the new fiscal year starts, July 1. And then I also think that we should have that meeting in August to discuss our priorities. I think that's a really important meeting. And to the extent that we can maybe show up to that meeting with maybe one of the priorities could be, I know for me, it'll be the Relief Act and I might have some proposals baked out there for that meeting, and I'd encourage others to as well. So I think that August meeting on our priorities could really, take the place of the need to discuss some items this summer. And that's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke. Jared?
Again, one of those things I'm opining on this for the first time, where it's the second, third, fourth, fifth, or more go around for all of you. Listening to things that both of you said, and thank you for going first. I think a couple things, having onboarded executives of agencies before. I think, what Luke is saying resonates with me. Being able for a city manager for us to be able to have the time and clarity to be able to bring a city manager on, for that city manager to be able to hit the ground and get up to speed, which is going to be, it's going to be a lot. Just learning the city from, or potentially from the outside. I just think that having that time is valuable. I want to be clear that I'm certainly 100%, 150% absolutely behind, meeting and convening where appropriate. But I do agree on the focus. And Scott, that's what I wanted to clarify my statement. That I do really mean. I do really feel that if we need to convene on a certain issue, we should. I do think we should leave both city staff the space and the city manager the space to get up to speed. And that's just my reflection on having been on the other side of the table on this in local government and having a recess. And it gave us, to be frank, a very well needed place to be able to pause, to plan. That was scheduled every year. So I concur with that. I concur with Luke on this.
So I'm definitely on board to having the recess. You guys definitely know I've been doing my council member job until we get the new person. The mayor job in operations, the city manager, and my regular 9 to 5, along with being a mother and a wife, right? And a very highly involved community member. But in all reality, I'll tell you this, the recess allows for the staff to reset, for us to talk about our priorities, so that way staff knows what they are and they could work with that and become prepared as well. Because they do have a lot of work that they do year round, aside from what our priorities are and the work that we schedule for them to do. So this definitely gives them time for them to reset, get things that they need to finalize, tie loose ends, and then start working on the next year. And at this point, let's do remember that if each of these meetings, the staff is piling up comp time. And at this point, some staff members could take off for 3 months and be fully paid. That's how much comp time they've been able to include. But I will say I'm definitely in full support of it. I think we need the new city manager will need that time. The other thing is the directors will also need the time for usually the staff has a retreat, directors have a retreat. We have one as well, the priority one. So that also gives time for them to also plan and work and refresh. And as far as the meeting goes, it's 3 of you guys could call a meeting, or I could call it. And because it's American Relief Fund, city manager will definitely, if a meeting needs to be called, it will be called. And that's not a problem. But I feel like even during the recess, we get a lot of the extra work that we need to do for ourselves and pre-plan. So I will stay with that. So at this point, majority takes it. And if there's nothing else to add it, I would like to move on to item number 14, because we're already at the 2 hours and 30-minute mark right now.
I'd like to respond, please, if that's in order.
Go ahead, Scott.
Thank you. Please don't sound so trepidatious. I promise I won't talk for that long. Um,
Think about the fact that you said like, let's cut off everybody's time. And I was like, so far you've been doing the extra 2 minutes above everybody else. So it was interesting. I was like, I don't think you want to cut your own time, but go on.
Thanks. Well, I'm not sure that I did hear a majority consensus. So Luke's suggestion was that we meet in August to have a priorities meeting. I think that's wonderful. So the only difference between what he's suggesting and what I'm suggesting is that we have 2 meetings over the summer instead of 1. So if people just want to have 1 meeting in August and 0 in July, that's fine. I'll accept being outvoted. But of course, if Luke can't come we have a quorum without you. So I just don't see any reason why not to schedule to just say we're going to have a work session the 3rd week of July and we're going to have a work session the 3rd week of August to talk about priorities. And if 3 people show up to the July meeting, we have quorum without you. It's okay if you can't come. And it was also said by 2 of the 3 of you, hey, we're probably going to call meetings anyway because we're going to be hiring a city manager and we're going to be doing whatever. Well, why not just know when we're going to be meeting, which would be the 3rd week? I, too, like to take vacations in the summertime. So knowing that we're probably going to have to call some meetings, why not just tentatively say we know when it's going to happen, which would be the 3rd Tuesday in July? But it's okay if I'm outvoted, that's fine. I understand the need for staff to reset and all that, but it's only asking for 1 work session in an entire month of 31 days. So I would just appeal to the rest of you that we please meet and have a work session the 3rd Tuesday of July, and then meet the 3rd Tuesday of August to have the priorities meeting that Luke is suggesting. So that's my suggested path forward. There's really not that much difference between what Luke and I both proposed. It's having 2 meetings over the summer rather than 1.
Yeah, I think the recess itself constructs that we will not have a scheduled meeting the 1st and the 3rd. That's part of it. It is not, and I think the city manager meetings it might be a little bit different, but either way, I've heard from Luke. He's in support of recess. I heard from Jerry. He's in support of recess, and I'm in the same boat. Luke and Jerry, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's kind of where we're at right now.
Selena, if I could just respond now that we're on our round 2.
Go ahead, Luke. I apologize, and followed by Jared.
Yep. Like I said, I am in support of a meeting in August to discuss our priorities. I am not in support of a work session in August where we can add a bunch of agenda items. I am not in support of a work session in July. To the extent that we need to have a meeting for personnel, we can do that. And we can call that meeting. But I am not in favor of scheduling 2 work sessions in July and August. I'm in favor of scheduling a meeting in August to talk about priorities. It can be that 3rd Tuesday in August. That's fine if we need to schedule a date on that. But I am not in favor of scheduling a work session in July and August and all that comes with a work session on account of the rules of the mayor and council. Thank you.
Jared?
Yeah, I think that, and Scott, you mentioned you sort of had recounted what I had said earlier. And if we have an issue that rises to the importance or the need to convene a session, such as immediate action needing to be taken on something like the American Relief Act, then I that's something we should convene around for. But I really, and I'm going to say this, having again being on the other side of this. Of the other side of the table for city staff, this is typically planned. It's a good space for them, not only for the point being made about vacation, allowing them to have the same flexibility, but also to also giving them space to focus and being able to plan. I will again say that having been on the other side of the table, having been reporting to a board that met monthly and often with even higher frequency. Those the couple months that we had where we had recess were precious, were usable, allowed us to think strategically because we had a break, except for the critical items coming from staff. So just, based on my previous, I know I'm new to council and I really appreciate all the thoughts and input on here. But from my previous experience, being in the other side of the table, I do agree with that. Do agree with the going into recess July and August. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys. Okay, moving on to the next item. Item number 14.
Mayor,
Proposal to go.
I'm sorry, just a point of clarification. I don't think we resolved this issue. So are we having a meeting in August or not? Because Jarrett just said recess in August and July, but that's not what Luke said, and I'm not sure where you stand. So are we meeting in August?
Mayor, can I
You go
clarify?
ahead.
So
Go ahead.
we're having a recess in July and August. I will propose a meeting date in August for priorities, but we're still at recess. There's no legislative or work session scheduled. So under the rules, we're still in recess. We're not holding a legislative or work session, but I will send an email to everybody to propose a special meeting for our priorities in August.
Thank you. Since Scott, you opened the floor again. Jarrett? And this is the last round, guys, by the way.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thanks for the clarity. I apologize for my sloppy wording. And I agree.
Okay, and Scott, I stay exactly where it was at. I support going into recess, and I'll leave it as short so that way there's no miscommunication. I support going in recess. So, being that there's 3 of us supporting going into recess, Mayor and Council will go into recess. Moving on to item number 14, proposal to go into closed session. Under 3-305B for reasons of subsection 1, Scott was able to read the whole section. So we will now, I entertain a motion right now to go into closed session at this moment.
Can I give a point of order, please?
Go ahead, Scott.
I know this is annoying as heck, but as you just said a few minutes ago, Mayor, this is not a voting meeting. So can we vote to go into closed session? Because I don't think we can actually do that till the next legislative meeting. Excuse me.
Good.
Can we vote to go into recess over the summer? Don't we need to do that at our next legislative meeting where we can actually vote?
We reached consensus, Scott. So it wasn't a vote, it was consensus. You wanted clarity on where the council stood and the mayor, and clarity was given to you. So that way it's going to be put in the agenda for June, but it's the staff will work towards like a recess.
Well, consensus would be 4-0, but so yes, we do need to vote on it at the next meeting. Is that what you're saying? It's okay if you don't know, because I don't know either. I'm asking.
We'll vote on the June agenda. So June 1st, John, can you go ahead and put it on? And
Yes, I will add it.
thank you so much, John.
Thank you.
Okay, so item number 14. We have it here for us to vote and to go into closed session for this item.
I move that we go into closed session for 3-305B1.
Thank you so much, Luke. Any seconds?
Second.
Thank you. Any objection? Any discussion? Okay, so Council, John has provided a different link for the closed session meeting. Scott, can you make sure the last one in this meeting are both added to the agenda so you can read the summary?
Sure.
Okay, thank you so much. So this concludes this part of the meeting, and we're going to be jumping into closed session. Thank you.